The alien telepath touched the human, then screamed and passed out. The shuttle descended through the artificial atmosphere of the Galactic Council station, and Ji-hoon pressed his face against the window. He had dreamed of this moment for 5 years. 5 long years of sending messages into space, of waiting for replies, of learning alien languages from digital files. Now humanity would finally meet the Galactic Council face to face. "Stop looking so nervous," Mirai said from the seat beside him. She was younger than Ji-hoon by 5 years, but she had more confidence in situations like this. She worked as a xenobiologist and had spent her entire career preparing for alien contact. "They agreed to meet us. That's a good sign." "They agreed to evaluate us," Ji-hoon corrected. He was a former military officer who had become a diplomat after humanity detected the first alien signals. "That's different from accepting us." The third member of their delegation, Hyunwoo, said nothing. He sat in the back watching everything with careful eyes. He was their security specialist, though Ji-hoon hoped they would not need his skills today. The shuttle docked with a soft thump. The door opened and they stepped into a world unlike anything Earth had ever known. The station was massive. The ceiling stretched so high above them that clouds formed in the upper atmosphere. Buildings hung suspended in the air, connected by bridges of light. Creatures of every imaginable shape moved through the space. Some walked, some flew, some seemed to float without any visible means of support. A figure approached them. It stood on 4 legs like a praying mantis, but it was the size of a human. Its head was triangular, with multiple eyes that glittered like black gems. It wore robes that shimmered with colors that had no names in any human language. "I am Taven of the Velkari," the creature said. Its mouth did not move, but the words appeared directly in their translation devices. "I will escort you to the evaluation chamber." They followed Taven through corridors that seemed to shift and change as they walked. Other aliens stopped to stare at the humans. Some pointed, some made sounds that might have been speech or might have been something else entirely. "The Council has reviewed your petition," Taven said as they walked. "Humanity wishes to join the Galactic Council and participate in interstellar trade and diplomacy." "That's correct," Ji-hoon said. He had practiced this speech 1,000 times. "Humanity has much to offer. We have art, music, literature, science, and a strong desire to learn from other species." "Perhaps," Taven replied. "But first you must pass the evaluation. All species must undergo this process before they can address the Council." They entered a large chamber. 12 pedestals stood in a circle, and on each pedestal sat a different alien creature. These were the Council members, Ji-hoon realized. The leaders of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Taven gestured for the humans to stand in the center of the circle. "The evaluation is simple," he explained. "I will make physical contact with one of you and read your surface thoughts. This allows us to verify that your species comes in peace and has no hostile intentions." Ji-hoon felt his stomach tighten. They had known this was coming. The Galactic Council was made up entirely of telepathic species. They communicated by touching minds directly. To them, spoken language was primitive and inefficient. "I'll do it," Mirai said, stepping forward. She sounded calm, but Ji-hoon could see her hands shaking slightly. Taven approached her. "Please remain still," he said. "This will not hurt. You may feel a slight pressure in your mind, but it will pass quickly. I have done this thousands of times with hundreds of species. There is nothing to fear." Mirai nodded. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Taven raised one of his clawed hands. It moved slowly through the air, getting closer and closer to Mirai's forehead. The chamber was completely silent. Even the Council members seemed to lean forward, watching carefully. The claw touched Mirai's skin. For one moment, nothing happened. Then Taven's entire body went rigid. His eyes, all 8 of them, opened wide. His mouth opened, and a sound came out that made every human instinctively step back. It was not a scream exactly. It was worse than a scream. It was the sound of something breaking, of something being damaged in a way that could not be fixed. Taven jerked his hand away from Mirai. He stumbled backward, his legs tangling beneath him. He fell to the floor, twitching. The sound continued to come from him, a high-pitched wail that seemed to pierce directly into the brain. Then he stopped moving. His eyes closed. He lay completely still. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Aliens rushed forward from every direction. Some ran toward Taven. Others surrounded the humans, creating a barrier of bodies. Ji-hoon heard shouting in a dozen different languages, none of which his translator could keep up with. A new Velkari appeared, this one wearing armor. "Do not move," it commanded. The translation was clear and cold. "You are under arrest for assault on a council member." "We didn't do anything," Hyunwoo shouted. He moved to put himself between the aliens and his companions. He touched her, not the other way around. Silence. The armored Velkari, who Jihoon guessed was named Vestal based on the nameplate on the armor, raised a weapon. It looked nothing like a gun, but Jihoon had no doubt it was dangerous. "You will come with us now," they had no choice. Jihoon, Mirai, and Hyunwoo were led out of the chamber. Behind them, they could see aliens gathered around Taven's motionless body. Some were checking him with devices. Others seemed to be communicating telepathically, their bodies going still in that way that meant their minds were somewhere else. The humans were taken to a small room with metal walls. The door sealed behind them with a hiss. "What happened?" Hyunwoo demanded, rounding on Mirai. "What did you do to him?" "Nothing." Mirai's voice was shaking now. The calm confidence was gone. "I didn't do anything. I just stood there. I thought about the mission and about hoping everything would go well. That's all. Just normal thoughts," he screamed, Jihoon said quietly. He sat down on the floor, his back against the wall. He screamed like he was dying. "From touching you. From reading your thoughts." They sat in silence for a long time. Outside their cell, they could hear movement and voices. But no one came to explain what had happened. No one came to tell them if Taven was alive or dead. Hours passed. Jihoon tried to think through what had gone wrong. The Velkari had evaluated thousands of species. This was a standard procedure. So what had been different about Mirai's mind? What could have caused such a violent reaction? Finally, the door opened. Vestal stood there, weapon in hand. "The council will see you now," he said. "Taven has awakened. He has told us what he found in your mind, human. And now the council must decide whether your entire species represents a threat to every telepath in the galaxy." They were led back through the corridors. But this time, every alien they passed moved away from them. They looked at the humans with what might have been fear or hatred or perhaps both. The council chamber looked different now. The 12 pedestals were arranged in a line instead of a circle. It looked less like a greeting and more like a trial. The humans stood in the center, isolated and alone. One of the council members spoke. Its voice was like wind through trees. "Taven has reported what he experienced when he touched the human mind. His account is disturbing. Before we proceed, we must understand what we are dealing with. Human, explain to us how your species thinks." Jihoon opened his mouth to answer, but he realized he had no idea what to say. How did humans think? How could he explain something so basic, so fundamental, that he had never questioned it? But he had to try. The fate of humanity's place in the galaxy depended on his answer. The alien telepath touched the human, then screamed and passed out. Taven lay in the medical bay, surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed. His body trembled even though the doctors had given him medication to help him rest. Dr. Kalmoth, an insectoid physician with gentle movements, checked the readings on the monitors and shook his head. "The neural damage is temporary," Dr. Kalmoth said to the other Velkari who had gathered around the bed. "His pathways were overloaded, but they will heal. What concerns me more is his mental state. He keeps saying the same things over and over." "What things?" Ambassador Threen asked. The avian diplomat had come to the medical bay as soon as he heard about the incident. His feathers were ruffled with concern. Dr. Kalmoth gestured to Taven. "Perhaps he can tell you himself." "He is awake now." Taven's eyes opened. All 8 of them moved independently, looking in different directions as if searching for threats that were not there. When he finally focused on Ambassador Threen, he made a sound like a whimper. "Tell us what happened," Threen said gently. "What did you experience when you touched the human's mind?" Taven's breathing quickened. "It was not a mind," he whispered. "It was a storm. A hurricane. 1,000 voices all screaming at the same time." The other aliens exchanged worried glances. "Explain," Threen prompted. "When I touch a mind, I see thoughts flowing in a stream," Taven said. His voice was weak and shaky. "One thought leads to another, like a river moving from the mountains to the sea. Even complex minds have this pattern. But the human," he shuddered. "The human had no stream. It was chaos. Pure chaos. But what exactly did you see?" Dr. Kalmoth asked, making notes on his datapad. Taven closed his eyes, remembering. She was thinking about the negotiation. About what to say. about whether we would accept humanity. But at the same time, she was thinking about something she ate this morning, and about a person she misses back on her homeworld, and about something she read in a book, and about the temperature of the room, and about a song, all at the same time, not one thought after another. All together, all at once. That's impossible, one of the other Velkari said. No mind can process multiple thought streams simultaneously. The consciousness cannot split like that. And yet she did, Taven said, and there was more. Beneath the surface thoughts there were layers, memories surfacing and sinking like waves, emotions coloring everything, imagination creating scenarios that had not happened, all of this happening together all the time without stopping. Ambassador Threen spread his wings in a gesture of confusion. How does such a being function? How can they make decisions if their minds are in constant chaos? I do not know, Taven admitted. But I felt something else too. Beneath all the noise, there was something holding it together. Like an iron core at the center of the storm. Willpower. Determination. The human mind does not process thoughts sequentially like ours. It processes everything simultaneously, and then filters it through sheer force of will. Dr. Kalmoth stopped making notes. That should not be possible. The amount of mental energy required to maintain such a state would be enormous. The being would be exhausted constantly. Perhaps they are, Taven said quietly. Perhaps that is simply what it means to be human. Meanwhile, in the detention cell, the three humans sat in worried silence. Hyunwoo paced back and forth, his military training making it impossible for him to sit still. Mirai sat with her head in her hands. Jihoon leaned against the wall thinking. I don't understand what happened, Mirai said for the 10th time. I wasn't thinking anything strange. Just normal stuff. The kind of things I always think about. Maybe that's the problem, Jihoon said slowly. Maybe what's normal for us is not normal for them. Hyunwoo stopped pacing. What do you mean? Jihoon thought about how to explain it. When you're standing guard, what do you think about? Lots of things, Hyunwoo said with a shrug. I watch for threats, but I'm also thinking about the mission, about what I'll eat later, about training exercises, about whether my equipment is working properly. Why? And all of that happens at the same time? Jihoon pressed. Of course, that's just normal thinking. But maybe it's not, Jihoon said. Maybe other species don't think like that. Maybe they think one thought at a time in a straight line. And when the telepath touched Mirai's mind, he experienced human thinking for the first time. Mirai looked up, and it was too much for him. Too many thoughts happening at once, like trying to drink from a fire hose. They sat with that realization for a while. If Jihoon was right, then every human was walking around with a mind that could injure telepaths. That made humanity dangerous to half the species in the galaxy. In the council chamber, the members had gathered to discuss the incident. They had reviewed all of Dr. Kalmoth's reports. They had listened to Taven's description, and now they had to decide what to do about humanity. The evidence is clear, Ambassador Threen said. Human minds are fundamentally incompatible with telepathic contact. They process thoughts in a way that overwhelms and injures telepaths. This makes them a Class X mental hazard. We should quarantine their world, another council member suggested. Prevent them from leaving their solar system until we can find a solution. Or prevent them from leaving forever, a third member added. Some problems have no solutions. But one of the elder council members, a being whose species had been part of the council for thousands of years, raised a tentacle for attention. Before we make such a decision, we should understand why human minds developed this way. Evolution does not create features without reason. The council accessed humanity's initial contact files. They reviewed everything humans had sent about their world, their history, their biology, and slowly a picture began to form. Earth was classified as a Class 7 death world. The designation meant it was more hostile to life than 90% of planets in the galaxy. Extreme weather patterns, aggressive predators, diseases, natural disasters. The humans had provided data on all of it, but the council had not truly understood what it meant. Look at this, one council member said, displaying an image. Human prey animals. They can run for hours without stopping. The humans evolved to hunt them not by being faster, but by following them until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Persistence hunting, another member said. Their bodies are built for it. But the mind had to keep going too, the elder said quietly. A mind that stops to rest is a mind that loses the trail, so human consciousness evolved to never stop. To process everything always, without rest. They pulled up more data. Humans slept, but even in sleep their minds remained active. They dreamed. They processed memories and emotions even while unconscious. Other species had true rest periods where consciousness dimmed to almost nothing. Humans never stopped thinking. They are not trying to be dangerous, the elder said. This is simply what they are. A species whose minds never rest because their world never allowed them rest. Ambassador Threen ruffled his feathers. That may explain why they are this way, but it does not change the fact that they are dangerous. Every human is a potential weapon against any telepath. Then we quarantine Earth, another member said. We surround their solar system with warning beacons. We tell all telepathic species to stay away. It is the only safe option. The vote was called. One by one, the council members indicated their choice. Jihoon, Mirai, and Hyunwoo would be sent back to Earth. Humanity would be denied membership in the Galactic Council. Their world would be marked as forbidden, and no telepathic species would be allowed to make contact. The motion passed. When Vestal came to deliver the news, he would not look at the humans directly. The council has made its decision, he said formally. You will be escorted to your shuttle and returned to Earth. Any attempts to leave your solar system will be met with force. I am sorry. The council believes this is necessary for the safety of all telepathic species. Jihoon stood up slowly. So that's it? We came in peace and you're sending us home like criminals? You are not criminals, Vestal said quietly. You are simply too dangerous to be allowed among us. Your minds could weaponize every telepath in the galaxy. The council cannot take that risk. We would never, Mirai started. It does not matter what you intend, Vestal interrupted. It matters what you are, and what you are is incompatible with galactic civilization. They were led back to their shuttle in silence. As they walked through the station, aliens moved out of their path. Some looked curious. Some looked afraid. Most just looked relieved that the dangerous humans were leaving. Jihoon climbed into the pilot's seat and began the launch sequence. His hands moved automatically while his mind raced through possibilities. They had come so far, waited so long, and now humanity would be trapped on Earth forever, isolated and alone in the universe. This isn't over, he said quietly. Mirai looked at him. What do you mean? They voted. The decision is final. Nothing is final, Jihoon said. There has to be a way. We just need to find it. The shuttle lifted off, carrying 3 humans back toward a world that would soon learn it had been rejected by the galaxy. The alien telepath touched the human, then screamed and passed out. The shuttle was halfway back to Earth when Jihoon made a decision. He turned the ship around. What are you doing? Hyunwoo asked, moving forward from his seat. Going back, Jihoon said simply. They'll arrest us again, Mirai warned. Or worse, maybe, Jihoon agreed. But I read the Galactic Council laws when we were preparing for this mission. They can't quarantine a species without proper evidence and a fair hearing. They skipped the hearing. They just voted based on one incident. Hyunwoo grinned. It was the first time he had smiled since the disaster in the council chamber. You're going to argue with them about legal procedures? That's exactly what I'm going to do, Jihoon said. We came too far to give up now. When their shuttle requested docking permission, there was a long silence from the station. Finally, Vestal's voice came through the communication system. Humans, you were ordered to return to Earth. Why have you come back? We request a formal hearing under Galactic Council law, Section 47, Article 12, Jihoon said. Any species threatened with quarantine has the right to present a defense. We were never given that opportunity. Another long silence. Then, wait there. It took 3 hours before they received permission to dock. When they stepped off the shuttle, Vestal was waiting with a full security team. But he did not arrest them. The council is very angry, he said, but you are correct about the law. They have granted you 3 days to prepare your case. After that, there will be one final hearing. If you cannot convince them that humanity is safe, the quarantine will be permanent. Do you understand? We understand, Jihoon said. Thank you. They were given quarters on the station, though guards stood outside their door at all times. The 3 humans gathered around a table and began to plan. We can't change what we are, Mirai said. Human minds work the way they work. We can't evolve into something different in 3 days. Then we don't try to change, Jihoon said. We try to show them that what we are is not a threat. How? Hyunwoo asked. That telepath touched Mirai for 1 second and collapsed. How do we prove that's not dangerous? It was Mireille who had the idea. What if we could control it? Show them that humans can quiet their minds when needed? Can we? Ji-hoon asked. I think so, Mireille said slowly. Meditation. Focused concentration. Humans have developed techniques over thousands of years to calm our minds. Maybe if we practice them, we can make our thoughts less overwhelming to telepaths. For the next 3 days they practiced. Mireille taught them meditation techniques she had learned from various human cultures. They focused on breathing, on emptying their minds, on thinking one thought at a time. It was harder than any of them expected. Human minds resisted simplicity. They wanted to wander, to process multiple streams, to stay active, but slowly they got better at it. On the second day, Tyven came to see them. The guards tried to stop him, but he insisted. When he entered their quarters, all 3 humans stood up nervously. I'm not here officially, Taven said. I simply wanted to understand. Understand what? Ji-hoon asked. Your minds, Taven said. He moved closer, his multiple eyes studying them carefully. In all my years as a telepath, I have never experienced anything like what I felt when I touched you. It was terrible, but it was also fascinating. We're sorry we hurt you, Mireille said quietly. You did not hurt me intentionally, Taven replied. You were simply being what you are. That is not a crime, but I need to know. Do you experience that chaos all the time? Is your consciousness always in that state? Yes, Mireille said. It's just normal for us. We don't know any other way to think. Taven was silent for a long moment. How do you bear it? The constant noise, the endless processing. It must be exhausting. The humans looked at each other. They had never thought about it that way. I guess we're just used to it, Ji-hoon said. It's all we've ever known. Would you allow me to try again? Taven asked suddenly. To touch your mind? I would be prepared this time. I would have mental shields in place. I believe I could maintain consciousness. Ji-hoon hesitated. Are you sure? We don't want to hurt you again. I am sure, Taven said. I have spent 3 days thinking about what I experienced. I cannot stop wondering what I might have seen if I had not been overwhelmed so quickly. There was something there beneath the chaos, something I almost understood before I had to break contact. I've been practicing meditation, Ji-hoon said. Maybe my mind would be calmer now. They set up a controlled environment. Taven sat across from Ji-hoon. The telepath took several moments to prepare himself, building mental barriers and defenses. Then he reached out and placed his hand on Ji-hoon's wrist. This time, Taven did not scream, but his body went rigid, his eyes glazed over. For almost a full minute, he remained completely still. Then he pulled his hand away and slumped in his chair, breathing hard. What did you see? Mireille asked anxiously. Taven looked at Ji-hoon with something like awe in his multiple eyes. The meditation helped. Your surface thoughts were calmer. But beneath them, he struggled to find words. It is like trying to read a book during a hurricane. The information is there, but the chaos makes it almost impossible to process. I'm sorry, Ji-hoon said. No, Taven said quickly. You do not understand. Yes, it was overwhelming. Yes, it was difficult, but I saw something remarkable. Your mind has layers, depths. Most species think in a single stream. Their consciousness flows like a river. But humans, he paused. Human consciousness is like an ocean. There are currents on the surface, but beneath them are depths upon depths. And at the very bottom, holding everything together, is something I have never felt before. What? Ji-hoon asked. Will, Taven said simply. Pure iron will. You do not just allow your mind to do whatever it wants. You control it. You filter everything through determination and choice. That is why you can function despite the chaos. You are not swept away by the storm of your thoughts. You are the eye of the storm. This information changed everything. When Taven reported his findings to the council, debates erupted. Some members argued that this made humans even more dangerous. A species with that much mental fortitude could resist telepathic control. They would be unpredictable in a civilization where most beings shared thoughts openly, but others saw it differently. A species that could not be controlled telepathically might be valuable. There were threats in the galaxy, beings who used telepathy as a weapon. A species immune to such attacks could be a powerful ally. The debate continued for hours. Ambassador Threen argued for maintaining the quarantine. Mental strength is not the same as compatibility. Humans might resist telepathic attacks, but they also injure any telepath who touches them. The risk is too great. But the elder council member who had spoken before raised a tentacle again. We are being afraid when we should be curious. These humans are different from us, yes, but that does not make them evil or dangerous. It makes them unique. Should we not try to find a way to coexist before we condemn them to eternal isolation? How? Threen demanded. You saw what happened to Taven. Even prepared and shielded, the contact was almost too much for him. We cannot ask telepaths to endure that kind of pain every time they interact with a human. Then perhaps, the elder said, we should ask the humans to find a solution. They are clearly an inventive species. They have developed technology to travel between stars. Maybe they can develop technology to bridge the gap between their minds and ours. On the third day, Ji-hoon presented this idea to the council. Give us time, he said. We have engineers, scientists, people who solve impossible problems. Let us work on creating an interface, something that could filter human thoughts and make them accessible to telepaths without causing harm. How long would this take? Ambassador Threen asked skeptically. Ji-hoon glanced at his companions. They had discussed this. We have someone on Earth who might be able to help. Give us access to communication equipment and 6 months to develop a prototype. 6 months? Threen's feathers ruffled in agitation. That is an enormous commitment of resources and time. It's nothing compared to the permanent quarantine you're proposing, Ji-hoon countered. 6 months to try to find a peaceful solution. If we fail, then you can quarantine us. But at least give us the chance, the council debated. Some wanted to reject the proposal immediately. Others were intrigued by the possibility. Finally, they agreed to a compromise. The humans would have 3 months, not 6. They would be given limited access to communication and materials. And if they succeeded in creating a working interface, there would be one final test before the council made their decision. As the humans left the chamber, Taven approached them. I will help you, he said quietly. I want to understand human minds, and I believe you deserve a chance to prove yourselves. Thank you, Mirai said. We won't let you down. I know, Taven said. I touched your mind, remember? I felt your determination. If any species can solve this problem, it is humanity. You do not know how to quit. The alien telepath touched the human, then screamed and passed out. The communication room was small and filled with equipment that looked both incredibly advanced and somehow ancient at the same time. Ji-hoon sat in front of the holographic projector, waiting for the connection to Earth to complete. Finally, the image stabilized and a man appeared in front of him. Do-hyun, Ji-hoon said with relief. Thank you for responding so quickly. Do-hyun was a military historian who had advised the delegation during their preparation. He looked tired, as if he had not slept since hearing about the failed first contact. Everyone on Earth is talking about what happened. The council really wants to quarantine us? Yes, Ji-hoon said. But they've given us 3 months to find a solution. We need your help. We need to explain to them why human minds work the way they do. Over the next few days, Ji-hoon and Do-hyun prepared a presentation. They brought in Mirai to help explain the science. They gathered data, images, and historical records. When they were ready, they requested another session with the council. The council chamber was full when they arrived. Word had spread about the human attempt to defend themselves, and many beings had come to watch. Ji-hoon felt the weight of all those eyes on him as he stepped into the center of the room. Honored council members, he began, you have told us that human minds are dangerous. We do not dispute this, but we ask you to understand why we are the way we are before you decide our fate. The holographic display activated behind him. An image of Earth appeared, slowly rotating. This is our world, Ji-hoon said. You have classified it as a Class 7 death world. But I do not think you truly understand what that means for the beings who evolved there. The image changed, showing Earth's weather patterns. Massive storms swirled across the surface. Our world has weather that can kill in minutes, hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, heat waves. Every season brings new dangers. Another image showed various Earth predators. We evolved alongside creatures that saw us as prey. Big cats, bears, wolves, even insects and microorganisms that could kill us. Yes, Ambassador Threen interrupted. We know Earth is hostile. Many worlds are hostile. This does not explain your mental structure. It explains everything. Do-hyun's voice came through the communication system. His hologram appeared next to Ji-hoon. Human consciousness developed the way it did because our world never allowed us to focus on just one thing. We had to watch for predators while looking for food. We had to remember where safe water was while tracking prey. We had to plan for winter while surviving summer. Our minds learned to process multiple streams of information because stopping to think about only one thing meant death. The display showed early humans hunting. We were not the fastest species. We were not the strongest. But we could outlast anything. We developed persistence hunting. We followed prey for days without stopping, until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. But to do that, our minds had to keep going too. A mind that stops to rest is a mind that loses the trail. So human consciousness evolved to never rest, Mirai added. Even when we sleep, our minds remain active. We dream. We process memories and emotions. We prepare for the next day. Our brains never fully shut down because for millions of years, the ones who rested too deeply did not wake up. The council members listened in silence. Some looked fascinated. Others looked disturbed. Ji-hoon continued, "But there is more. May I show you something?" He activated another file. Images of human history appeared. Wars, famines, diseases, natural disasters. Humanity has endured suffering that would have destroyed most species. We have fought wars that killed millions. We have survived plagues that wiped out half our population. We have rebuilt our civilizations after earthquakes leveled our cities. And through all of it, we continued. How? One of the council members asked. How does a species endure such constant trauma? Do-hyun answered, by thinking multiple contradictory thoughts at the same time. We had to maintain hope while planning for disaster. We had to love our families while preparing for loss. We had to cooperate with each other while remaining alert for betrayal. Our minds developed the ability to hold opposing ideas simultaneously because the world demanded it. That sounds like madness, Ambassador Threen said. Perhaps it is, Ji-hoon admitted, but it is functional madness. It is madness that allowed us to survive, and eventually to thrive, a new voice spoke up. It was Saralan, a council member whose species experienced emotions telepathically rather than thoughts. She had been silent until now. I would like to try something, she said. If the humans agree, what do you want to try? Ji-hoon asked. My species does not read thoughts like the Velkari. We feel emotions. I would like to touch one of you and see what I experience. Perhaps I can provide a different perspective. Hyunwoo stepped forward before anyone else could volunteer. I'll do it, Saralyn approached slowly. She was a beautiful being, with skin that seemed to shimmer like oil on water. She reached out a hand and Hyunwoo extended his own to meet it. The moment their fingers touched, Saralyn's eyes went wide. But she did not scream or collapse. Instead, she stood perfectly still for several seconds. When she pulled her hand away, there were tears running down her face. What did you feel? The elder council member asked gently. Saralyn looked at Hyunwoo with something like wonder. Layers, she whispered. So many layers. On the surface, there was calm, discipline, a soldier's focus. But beneath that, I felt fear. Worry for his companions, concern about the mission. And beneath that, I felt determination, a refusal to give up no matter what happens. And beneath that, I felt love. For his world. For his people. For life itself. She turned to address the council. But what struck me most was how he carried all of these emotions at once. The fear did not cancel out the determination. The worry did not erase the love. He felt everything simultaneously and simply. Bore it! How is that possible? Ambassador Threen asked. I don't know, Hyunwoo said quietly. It's just what we do. We feel everything and we keep going anyway. Saralyn wiped her eyes. Honored Council, I have touched the minds of hundreds of species. Most feel one emotion at a time, strongly and clearly. A few can feel 2 or 3 emotions in conflict. But this human carried a dozen different feelings at once, each one powerful, and he functioned normally. He stood here calmly while his internal world was a storm. And that does not frighten you? Threen asked. It awes me, Saralyn said. To endure that much internal chaos and still choose kindness, still choose cooperation, still choose hope. That is not weakness. That is strength beyond measure. The council debated for hours. Some agreed with Saralyn. Others insisted that emotional complexity did not change the fundamental problem. Humans could still injure telepaths. Finally, the elder council member spoke again. I propose we consider this from a different angle. We have been asking whether humans are safe for telepaths, but perhaps we should ask whether humans are safe from telepaths. This caused confusion in the chamber. What do you mean? Threen asked. Think about it, the elder said. Most species in this council can have their thoughts read. their emotions influenced, their decisions altered through telepathy. We have laws against such intrusions, but the capability exists. Humans are apparently immune to these influences. Their minds are too chaotic to control. Does that not make them vulnerable in a different way? Ji-hoon understood what the elder was suggesting. You're saying we're not a threat. We're potential victims. Perhaps both, the elder said. You could neither control us nor be controlled by us. That makes the relationship complex but not necessarily hostile. Ambassador Threen ruffled his feathers in frustration. This is all very philosophical, but it does not solve the practical problem. How can we integrate a species into galactic civilization when physical contact with them injures our telepaths? That is what the next 3 months are for, Ji-hoon said. We are working on a solution. A device that can filter our thoughts and make them accessible without causing harm. We just need time. And if you fail? Threen asked. Ji-hoon met his gaze steadily. We won't fail. Humans don't know how to quit. You may see that as stubbornness or madness, but it is what has allowed us to survive everything our world threw at us. It is what will allow us to solve this problem. The session ended with no clear decision. The council agreed to wait for the humans to develop their interface device. But the tension remained. Some council members were beginning to see humans as potentially valuable. Others still saw them as too dangerous to risk. As the humans left the chamber, Taven approached them again. That was well done, he said. You made them see you not as monsters, but as survivors. That changes the conversation. Do you think it will be enough? Mirai asked. I do not know, Taven admitted, but I believe you deserve the chance to try, and I will do everything I can to help you succeed. Back on Earth, a team of scientists had already begun working on the interface device. They had 3 months to create something that had never existed before. A bridge between human chaos and telepathic order. The fate of humanity's place in the galaxy depended on their success. The alien telepath touched the human, then screamed and passed out. 2 months had passed and the small laboratory on the station hummed with activity. Salmon, a human engineer, had arrived from Earth with a team of specialists. They had transformed the space into a workshop filled with equipment that looked like a strange combination of human technology and alien devices. Show me again, Taven said, watching as Soman adjusted a small device that looked like a thin band of metal. It's based on the same principles as our neural implants, Soman explained. She was young but brilliant, and she had barely slept since arriving on the station. But instead of reading thoughts, it filters them. Think of it like a translator, but for consciousness instead of language. She placed the band on her own head. Small lights flickered along its surface. When a telepath touches me now, they don't experience my thoughts directly. The device intercepts the signal and converts the chaos into something more manageable. Multiple thought streams become a single clear voice. But does it work? Taven asked. Only one way to find out, Soman said, extending her hand. Taven hesitated, remembering the pain from his first attempt. But his curiosity was stronger than his fear. He reached out and touched Somin's wrist. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Taven's eyes widened, but this time with wonder instead of pain. I can hear you, he whispered. One voice, clear and distinct, but I can still sense the others beneath it, like feeling the ocean under a boat. I'm not drowning in it. I can choose to dive deeper or stay at the surface. Soman grinned with relief. It works. It actually works. Over the next few weeks, they tested the device extensively. Different humans wore it. Different telepaths tried to read them. Each time, the result was the same. The interface filtered human consciousness into something telepaths could safely access while still preserving the fundamental nature of human thought. But the Council wanted more than just proof that the device worked. They wanted proof that humans could integrate into galactic civilization. Ambassador Threen, who had opposed humanity from the beginning, proposed a final test. The device filters thoughts during calm contact, Threen said during a council session. But what happens under stress? In crisis situations? Can the interface handle a human mind under extreme pressure? It was a valid question. Ji-hoon knew they needed to answer it convincingly. What do you propose? He asked. A demonstration, Threen said. We will observe a human performing complex tasks under stressful conditions while a telepath maintains contact. If the interface can handle that, then perhaps humans are ready to join us. The test was scheduled for 1 week later. Minseo, a combat pilot who had just arrived from Earth, volunteered to be the test subject. She was confident and skilled, with years of experience flying in dangerous conditions. "Are you sure about this?" Ji-hoon asked her the night before the test. "They're going to push you hard. They want to see if we break under pressure." Min-seo smiled. "Let them try. I've flown combat missions through asteroid fields while enemy ships were shooting at me. I can handle whatever they throw at me." The next day, the demonstration chamber was filled with council members and observers. In the center of the room sat a human fighter craft, compact and deadly. Min-seo stood beside it, wearing the interface device. Taven stood next to her, ready to maintain telepathic contact throughout the test. Ambassador Threen explained the rules. The pilot will navigate through a simulated asteroid field while solving mathematical problems and answering questions about Earth's history. All of this while the telepath observes her mental state. If the interface fails, if the pilot becomes overwhelmed, or if the telepath is injured, humanity fails the test. "Understood," Min-seo said calmly. She climbed into the cockpit. Taven placed his hand on a sensor pad that connected him to her interface device. The simulation began. The holographic display showed Min-seo's ship entering an asteroid field. The rocks moved in complex patterns, creating gaps that opened and closed in seconds. Her hands flew across the controls and the ship darted through the first gap with centimeters to spare. "Question 1. Threen's voice came through the speakers. "What year did humans first achieve powered flight?" 1903, Min-seo answered without hesitation. Her ship rolled sideways to slip between two rotating asteroids. "Calculate the square root of 7,396, Threen demanded. "Approximately 86, Min-seo said. The ship dove under a cluster of rocks. "Explain the significance of the human concept called democracy." Min-seo's voice remained steady as she talked about government systems and human rights, all while threading her ship through gaps that seemed impossible. The council members watched in fascination. Some had never seen a human operate before. The combination of physical skill and mental processing was unlike anything in their experience. Taven, maintaining contact through the interface, reported what he was experiencing. "Her mind is extraordinary. She's not just flying the ship. She's calculating trajectories, predicting asteroid movements, managing fuel consumption, preparing responses to questions, and staying aware of all the observers watching her, all simultaneously. But the interface is working. I can follow her primary thought stream without being overwhelmed by the others." "Increase difficulty," Threen ordered. The asteroids moved faster. The gaps became smaller. The questions became harder. But Min-seo adapted. In fact, she seemed to get better as the challenge increased. "Fascinating." Dr. Hana's voice came through from Earth, where she was monitoring the test. She was a neuroscientist who had helped develop the interface. "Her brain chemistry is changing. She's releasing chemicals that enhance her cognition. Humans perform better under pressure, not worse." "That cannot be right," one of the council members said. "But it is," Dr. Hana insisted. "Within limits, stress improves human performance. Our bodies and minds evolve to function in crisis. This is when we're at our best." The test continued for 30 minutes. By the end, Min-seo had successfully navigated the entire asteroid field, answered every question correctly, and maintained steady vital signs throughout. When her ship emerged from the final cluster of asteroids, the council chamber erupted in discussion. Taven removed his hand from the sensor pad. He looked tired but amazed. "I have never experienced anything like that." Her mind did not split focus. It integrated everything into a single flow state. The stress did not break her concentration. It enhanced it. Elder Vorten, who had been silent for most of humanity's trials, finally spoke. His voice carried the weight of thousands of years of wisdom. "I understand now what humans are. They are a species that evolved to thrive in chaos. They turned suffering into strength. Their minds became fortresses because the universe gave them no choice." "But Elder," Ambassador Threen protested, "this demonstration proves how dangerous they could be. Such mental fortitude could be weaponized." "Against whom?" Vorten asked. "They cannot harm telepaths with the interface. They cannot be controlled by telepaths because of their nature. They bring something to the council that we have never had before, a species that is both immune to mental manipulation and capable of extreme mental endurance. In a galaxy where telepathy can be used as a weapon, having allies who cannot be dominated might be valuable." "You propose we accept them?" Threen asked. I propose we ask them a question first, Forten said. He turned his ancient gaze toward Jihoon. Human, you have demonstrated that your species can create technology to bridge the gap between your minds and ours. But I must know, why do you want to join us so badly? Your world is isolated, yes, but you could survive alone. Why risk so much for acceptance? Jihoon thought carefully before answering. Because we're tired of being alone. Humans have spent our entire existence on a world that tried to kill us. We fought each other for resources. We struggled against nature. We survived, but survival is not the same as living. When we discovered that there were other intelligent species in the universe, it gave us hope. Hope that we could be part of something larger than ourselves. Hope that all the suffering we endured might have meaning if we could use our strength to help others. We're not asking to join the council because we need protection or resources. We're asking because we want to belong. The chamber fell silent. Saralin, the empath who had touched Hyunwoo weeks before, spoke softly. I felt that truth when I touched their minds. Beneath the chaos and the strength, humans feel lonely. They want connection desperately, but their nature makes it difficult. That is why they developed so much technology and art and culture. They were trying to bridge the gaps between their own minds because they could never truly share thoughts like we do. And now they offer us a bridge, Forten said. A device that allows limited telepathic contact without harm. It is not perfect. It is not complete unity of mind. But it is honest. It reflects the human condition, reaching for connection while maintaining identity. Ambassador Threen ruffled his feathers one final time. I still have reservations, but I cannot deny what we have seen. These humans are different from any species we have encountered. Perhaps that difference is valuable. Forten raised a tendril. Then I call for a vote. But before we vote, I want to say something to the humans. You asked us to accept you despite your differences. That took courage. Whether we accept you or not, you have earned respect. Marder,